showing you some of the different things that we do with the iPads for our research program. Before we get started, one of the things I want to make sure you are free and to understand is that anytime during my presentation and my talk, please feel free to raise your hand and ask questions, because I think it's more useful, especially with some of the apps that we use, to ask specific questions as we go. Okay? Have you logged on to the Research and Writing Edmodo? One of the things that I'm going to do, would you go to the folder? And I had several people ask me this yesterday. I put a folder in there on research handouts. There were several people yesterday who wanted to start a research program at their school. And so I'm going to share a lot of my handouts that I have used through the years. I started working with a research program in 1998 when I was at Southeast Valley High School. And so I brought a lot of those documents with me and then had adapted them and made them for FA. So anything that you want to use, I am happy to share with you. Because they were built in collaboration with other teachers. And I think as teachers, it's important that we share. We should never have to completely recreate the wheel. I actually have a share folder that I use with my colleagues at school because I have taught American Lit for so many years. We had a first-year teacher last year and the year before who were teaching American Lit, and I just sent them her whole folder through Dropbox. So that was kind of cool. But there, you see your materials coming up in other classes. So let's go ahead and get started. Mr. Mahaley did want me to remind you that at the end of the session, you have a number on the back of your name card. There are prizes, lots of good prizes. So make sure that you go and claim your prizes either the, what's that called, the showcase? Showcase. So let me get you started. I'm just going to give you a little bit of background information on the research process at FA. Years ago, we had a class called Rhetoric. When I first came to FA in 27, it was really based on college-level rhetorical modes. We used a college-level textbook, but we taught it to 10th graders. And it was very difficult for them to understand a lot of what was going on. And then we discovered that a lot of it was being duplicated in other classes. But we also at FA require every single one of our seniors to complete a senior research project. If you're familiar with a research project that is done in other schools, or that was going to be the initiative to DPI several years ago, it's the same thing. It's the 4 parts: the research, the paper, the product, the portfolio, and the presentation. And so what we did with research and writing, we still teach it in the 10th grade, but we have geared it now more towards building the research process so that at each different level, from 10th, 11th, and then into 12th grade, our students are then ready to jump right into that research paper their first quarter of their senior year. In fact, they turned their final copy in last week of their senior research paper. So it's
smiling.
I know. She worked hard. And this is now, they're out to all the faculty. It is a full school-wide initiative, and the faculty now has a week to grade 6 papers. And so I'll talk to you a little bit more about that. But I want to go back to the evolution of the research process in terms of technology. We originally had carts full of netbooks. We had 2 carts. I think there were 30 netbooks in each cart. With the theory being we could roll them from class to class, students could log on, and all of that would just be fabulous. It was not nearly as fabulous as we thought it was going to be. If you don't turn the netbook off correctly, it doesn't charge. It doesn't always log on to the network. We're having some serious issues with it logging onto the network. And then the kids really didn't like that little tiny keyboard, which is amusing to you because they love the iPad keyboard. I don't know. Maybe it's just the series of years that we've gone through. But we still have the netbooks. They're over at our elementary school, what we call our little school, with our first graders. And Marshall Cheney, our IT guy, told me yesterday that I don't think they've been out of the cart yet. So if you want netbooks, we can give you a deal. You have to make sure you do that. But we had significant issues. And then in 2009, Apple came up with the iPad. A few of our staff had iPads. And then we began to move them into specific classes of seniors. They went to AP Euro Kids, and then my AP 4 class received them in December of 2010. with the idea that we would use them more to explore literature. They were the original iPad 1s, and they didn't have the capability to mirror, to even plug into a data projector. So there were some limitations. I was initially chosen because of my interest in the Kindle. And my sons had bought me a Kindle in 2000, I think it was 9, it could have been 8, for Christmas, and I just fell in love with ebooks. Having moved twice in 1 year, I had a group of friends who said, we're never moving another box of your books again. So I sort of adapted to the ebook format right away. I was really excited. I was sharing that with Mr. Mahaley. And so we used ebooks with my AP4 class. And because they got them in December, the first book that they downloaded was Tale of Two Cities, which, if you're familiar with Project Gutenberg, many of the titles that we teach through our English classes can be found for free on Project Gutenberg. You just download them right into iBooks, and then the students can annotate right in there. One of the first problems we had with the annotation with the old ones was that if you annotate, like if Bria's annotating, it's going to show up on Daniel and Aaron's book. And that doesn't happen anymore, but it was kind of funny to see everybody's notes show up. So after they go through the 10th grade process of research and writing, and I will tell you that that's a one-semester class. Every student who comes into FA, even if they come in as a junior or a senior, they are still required to take the research and writing class. So it's useful for them as they matriculate in college. I'm going to come back to this in a little bit. In February of 2012, we did a full iPad 2 rollout to the seniors, primarily so they could project their presentations in May. They presented Tuesday before Memorial Day, and one of the problems that we were having with their presentations was that every single teacher at FA had a different type of laptop. We had the old, were they Vios, maybe? The Vio? We had ThinkPads, we had Dell, and so the students would build this fabulous presentation, take it to a teacher's classroom for presentation, and it wouldn't work. Nothing would work. And so one of the reasons that we went with the iPad 2 was so that the seniors could present their projects. We had a few glitches the first year. Last year, we had 0 tech issues. There was not a single tech issue that came up. And we had more presentations last year than we've ever had. We had 91 seniors present last year on the same day, at the same time. Well, 20 of them at a time, 22 at a time, had no tech issues with the iPad. And so that was really a learning curve for us. And it was like, yay! Pretty exciting. So I always had 4 or 5 people on staff who were monitoring the halls, ready to go in and troubleshoot. There was no troubleshoot. It was fabulous. So the rollout to the 10th graders came 2 semesters later. What we did was we started with seniors, and then we took it down to 11th, 10th, and 9th. And that was significant because all of a sudden, we could do every single thing for the research and writing class on the iPad. And some of the things I'm going to show you today, I'm going to have Bree pull up some things on hers, but I'm going to go ahead and mirror mine for a second. One of the things that we used, this year we decided that one of the problems with the senior project were the topics. They were becoming so presented, so overused. We realized that our students had very little connection to what was going on in the world. So every week, the first quarter of research and writing, we've started to require a current event. Well, they were finding some really silly things, so we had them download. One of the things about our school is that the kids cannot download their own apps. We have to request them, and then our IT people push them out to them. But one of the apps that I love the most is the Flipboard app. How many of you are familiar with it? Good. If you're not, now there's a couple different news-related apps. This one I like because you can choose anything. I have actually 3 pages of different apps and different news sources on my Flipboard. For example, I go to the ABC app. If I'm talking about, that was an interesting story. ABC might not be the best one because it could be a little silly. We have a lot of kids who work with childhood leukemia as part of their senior project. So that kid story, I don't know if you were familiar with that, was really cool. If I wanted to save this to do research on it later, I would flip it into my own personal magazine. So this is the iOS 7 version, by the way. I can just take this, I can flip it into my magazine. I have this eye thing going on. You probably can't see it, but I'm just, it's like twitching, so it's making me feel really like I'm doing this. So please forgive me. And you see, I have several different magazines. I have one devoted to my gorgeous granddaughter. And then I have one just for me, and then one for school. And I've got a Wiggly up there just because I'm trying to work with Wiggly. Megan may actually be able to help me with something. I've now added it to my school magazine, and I can go back and find that article at any time. Just like a database, if you go back to try to find an article, it may not be there. So this has been very useful for my students, and they can store things. I required them to have 3 of the major news organizations. One of the things we talked about was bias. So I told them that if they have Fox, then they have to have MSNBC. They're all required to have NPR, and then they can choose one of the other big 3. And then they can put anything in there they want. You know, then you can personalize it. I have Runner's World on here. I love to cook, so I have, you know, a nice food magazine up here.
Is that a free app?
Yes, it's downloaded now. Pardon me?
You still got to subscribe to it?
No, everything's free.
Really?
Everything's free. Now there are some, like if I wanted the New York Times, I could only use 5 articles a day before I would have to subscribe.
You can do an incognito window, but it's an app.
Yeah. Well, even with my New York Times app, I can still only look at 5 articles.
Yeah.
But the teacher discount's pretty good if I wanted to do that. But every single one of these is free. So if I wanted to, for example, Consumer Reports, which I like to have one, you know, especially with my students, all the same articles in there, yeah, for free. And that's what I really like about Flipboard is it gives the students the opportunity to look at all different things that are going on in the world. And that's a free app. You can download it right now, and it would work great for you. I have a lot of literature-based ones, obviously, because I love literature.
I have a question.
Yes.
I also use Site. Which do you prefer, the Flipboard or the Site?
Because Flipboard is the first one that I picked up,
Okay.
I do that. Now, a lot of my students like Site. I think they offer the same things.
Okay. Now, Flipboard is where they're creating their magazines?
You can create, let me show you. You don't create a magazine. You can do both. Like I have magazines that I have chosen that I just want to read. But I can also create my own through my own account. So I can go here and I can edit and I can create my own magazine. I'm trying to think if I can do that really fast so that you can see how to do that. I can't actually remember how to do it. It's been so long since I created my own magazine. Let's see. It should be an edit.
What is it on the bottom? One of those 2 icons on the bottom right?
Down here? Oh, it should be there.
The one that looks like a pen.
That one is an upload. That one is just, yeah, upload. I can upload those magazines.
And the one next to it, the pen.
That's just Facebook. I don't know why they didn't have that. Megan, do you remember how to create magazines? It's been so long since I created, it should be just in, wait a second.
The creative.
That's what I'm playing around with right now.
Yeah.
I used it a lot.
I've used it a lot, but I haven't done it in so long. Let's try a house.
Well, I see, but learn more. Save stories into your own magazines, learn
Yeah.
more. I
So
know.
what would be the benefit of creating your own?
Because then you can save articles.
Yeah.
It's like a clipboard.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Like I can flip any
Is that not
magazine.
what you were just doing?
Yeah, I was just doing that, but I don't remember how I created the magazine.
Okay.
That's the part I didn't think about that. Like, here's articles that I've been saving. Obviously, a lot of them are literature related that I'll be using, like we're starting poetry next week, a John Donne article that we're, you know, several weeks or several months ago.
Tutor saying you can't remember how to start the initial process.
Right, which is really strange because I showed my students not too long ago. I'm not going to let this, I'm one of those people who figures it out. And you can share as well. My son and I have a shared account. You can flip things into it for me. Obviously, all baby related. My clipboard. Yep. Subscriptions.
Is it editor tools?
No, I tried that.
Or you create your own magazine, is that what you're
Mm-hmm.
on the art, it says on the
Edit, oh,
article.
right there. There we go.
Yeah, on the article that plus you can.
You can edit, and then you can add.
And so, I'm sorry, you said, like, I've added news, but are you able to add like a specific news, like paper, like a specific newspaper, or like when it comes from news, does it draw from all of those already? I'm trying to remember now.
I add specific. For
Okay.
example, you can, like there's news. You can even search, like I've added the News and Observer, so it's
Gotcha. Now
and
I
then
see
you can
that.
pick all of your own stuff that you want to add in. Gallup, anything that you're interested in, or if you have a subject specific, Gallup might be interesting if you're doing a statistics class. New York Times is there, PBS NewsHour, if you're teaching French, a Paris Match would be nice to have in there. So any of those things.
Now, just want to list how much, is there a limited amount you can do, or is it?
No, I've got 3 pages already.
But I mean,
on my page.
like your local rack, if you want to throw that in there, you just do it. It's not a pre-range list.
No, and you search, like I've got our local newspaper here, which for some reason today has no content. And the one I really wanted to show you has no content, my free technology for teachers blog, so he must have it down for the weekend. But if you're interested in arts and culture, if you're an art teacher, boom, all of these great different ideas that you can pull in. Art museums, different art museums. So you can click on that and you have all of these different things that are available to you. It's one of those things this is like Pinterest where you can spend hours just looking through the list of options in Flipboard. But it's so user-friendly. Well, I say that, I couldn't figure out how to make my own magazine.
I got it.
You got it, yeah. Once you play around with it, it's not difficult. But I just love it. This is on my lunchtime reading. I'll pull up my books and just read about different pieces of literature, catch up with the news. It's just fascinating. There's an app called, a magazine called Long Reads that has really, it's almost like short stories and essays, and it just helps, I think, open up our window to the world, especially with our students. You used it a lot when you were in England.
Yeah.
You want to talk about that?
Okay, so a lot of the time in England, I didn't get to bring a lot of books, obviously, because I couldn't fit it all.
She did the Oxford X program in England at Oxford University for 2 weeks this summer.
Yeah, and kind of like I totally felt out of the know in the U.S. because there's so much going on. So a lot of time I would just go to Flipboard and I would just like look up U.S. politics, U.S. news, and see what was going on. And I loved using it because it really is user friendly.
It really is. And the kids love it too. It's funny to see I've got a couple 10th graders here. It's funny to see them from the research and writing class go, oh, we love Flipboard. And then they'll go home and they'll show their parents how to use Flipboard. I have it on my phone. And now you can actually put it on your laptop as well on your Mac. So you can access it from anywhere. In terms of the research process, to kind of take us back, right now my sophomores are in their 2nd quarter of research and writing. So they are developing a full-blown research paper which that they will then present for their midterm exam. And that leads them into their senior paper in 12th grade. Many of our students use the same type of topic, if not the same topic, and then they just expand it into their senior paper, which is what we are trying to encourage. One of the first things we do is begin to choose a topic. And this is an app that we found. It's called, I keep looking at that. I'm not used to using my laptop or the screen. I keep looking at the Apple TV. Is Instagrok. So someone give me a topic. You know how your kids have difficulty finding keywords and sources? Somebody just give me a topic. Heroes. Heroes. I mean,
Thank you, that works for me too.
Okay.
We're on the Iliad right now.
I actually actually have a really good article on heroes that I found on my free technology for teachers I sent to our 10th grade teacher.
My guys are doing, they're gonna be taking like a real life person who's made a significant impact.
I do that with Beowulf. I do
And they're little kids, poor district, not a lot of background,
Yeah.
low reading comprehension, but we're trying to pick high interest topics for them.
Yeah. We do have a big unit with heroes because our kids do the Tunnels for Towers run in September 11th. And so they do a big thing with that. So you have different kinds of heroes. You can have comic book, live action. You want to do heroes that are real heroes. So you might want to look at, let's look at just the hero in general. And then it will re-grok it for you. Hang on. Heroes go on a quest. It gives you the characteristics of a hero. And what it does is it helps them with keywords. You can also then, here's your real life hero, change the future, find sources. Let me pull this up for you.
It looks like I went to a lot of stuff from that, ABC,
Mhm.
heroes.
Let's see, yesterday it would give me any. So here you've got some sources. There's online sources. It does very often pull up Wikipedia, which we tell our students they cannot use as a serious research source. I tell them any 9-year-old with a computer can edit Wikipedia. It's not a bad place to get them started thinking about a topic, and then finding keywords, and then using the bibliography that Wikipedia provides to help them find some sources. We don't let them cite it, which I'm sure you guys do. But you see, watching heroes, watching heroes online, takes you right to another source. So Instagram has been very helpful in getting them to expand, especially with 10th graders, and think about a topic, because their world is really fairly narrow. I have really thoroughly enjoyed working with that. So they choose a topic, they begin their search for sources, they bookmark them, they analyze them. When you go to the student showcase, there's one young lady, Erin Connell, who's working specifically with Safari and how to bookmark and find different sources and save them. So she has that down to a science. Is that, she can be near you or you can do your book?
Yeah, I'll be doing my book.
Okay.
She'll be like right here, I think.
One of the things I found while I was actually building this was a website that gives you useful apps for research and writing. I thought that was pretty cool. I didn't know this existed until about 3 days ago. But it has a list, and most of these we use. It tells you whether they're free or whether they cost money. Generally, your school can buy a site license. Also, it gives you Android, which we won't talk about, of course, because it's a bad word. But it's some of the same things that we use. So I thought that was kind of useful for you to have. Once they get all of their sources, then they're ready to build the source list. We actually went back this quarter to something a little bit more old-fashioned, because we were finding that even though our students were finding good sources, they weren't taking good notes. And so we are requiring source cards and note cards for our 10th graders again, where they actually have to copy down quotations, copy down statistics. I do have 2 students who use a note card app from their iPad, and that's fine. I told them as long as you can organize it and move them around, I'm good with that. We use 2 different things. Obviously, how many of you are familiar with Purdue OWL? Should be everybody. If not, it is a free online site. It's called the Online Writing Lab. It is probably the go-to resource for anything you want to know about research and writing and setup. It has all 3 of your major citation formats, NLA, APA, and Chicago. Gives you samples, talks about abstracts, which our seniors are going to be moving into pretty soon. They do ask if you'd like to donate to them, and as an English department, we have begun to do that as part of our budget every year because we use it so heavily. I think it's only fair. I also have a little bit of an affinity because my uncle played basketball for Purdue when he was in college. So once they cite their sources, then they begin to set up their document. And we use Pages almost exclusively for setting up their document. And this is where the use of the iPad is different than the use of a laptop. Our students can do every single thing from beginning to end, uploading their final paper, using nothing except their iPad. And Bree's going to show you how she uses Pages. Now, this is the upgraded one, and she's just upgraded iOS 7 as well. You want me to, are you going to knock me off?
Yeah, but that's not me knocking off. But, okay, so for Pages, it basically, it's like Word, but what I love about this is that if I want to edit a document, like if I want to, like if it's a second draft and I want to like make some changes or something, I can go to my first draft.
And you can organize them by folders as well.
Yeah.
So she's going to open her first draft, and we want to edit it without having to print out. I've got 95 seniors this year. Times 10, that's a lot of paper for every single draft. And so, sometimes with kids, if they hit print and it doesn't print the first time, they hit it 2 or 3 times. So there's papers all over the school building. So they can edit completely using their iPad. She's going to show you how that's done.
Okay, so what's great about the iPad too, that you can now open in another app, and I'll open that as a PDF, because for our app Goodreader that we always use, it's a
And Goodreader costs money, by the way. Pages and Goodreader are both purchased apps.
So
I think the new one though. I think Pages is free.
It's fine, all
Pages-
new.
Yeah, the new one, the new one.
So I'll open that up in Goodreader, and then I can go ahead and just start editing.
She can write all over it. She can actually highlight certain areas and then type corrections. Okay, here's one of my 10th graders right now. We're just talking about using Flipboard. Oh, I love Flipboard.
Yeah, and I can also make little notes that will be hidden, but I can press them later.
Little
Like turn up my
tiny
pen,
dot.
and it'll show up. And yeah, you can highlight a word, and you can do that. You can underline it. You can pick a color. I love it because it's just so easy to use. Like I use this for my chemistry class. I use it in basically every class.
This was our roadblock last year. And then when we realized we could upload them to PDF and edit right on the screen, that became a whole new animal. So our students no longer have to print. We can do all of the editing. And I believe my next slide.
So can they send it to your Goodreader?
No, this is their own. What?
It's my class.
Well, yeah, that is your class, that's right. This is an example of a student who's in the initial process of taking her notes from her iPad, from articles, building her note cards. I'm going to go past this one for just a second. Working in Pages, building the first draft, and then editing it. And this is what it looks like when you highlight a whole section. Can you do that?
Yeah.
So that's one outline.
Yeah, I use that. Yeah, I took notes on that. By the way.
So you can highlight a whole section and then just type right in here any corrections that you want to make. And I actually just did that with the young lady Erin, who did English paper for this reading night and editing. So again, no paper, everything happens right there on the iPad. Go back. This is my seniors degrees class, my AP class. Oh, is it doing it again? Yesterday they had to reload this video. Looks like it's going to do it again. Should have Aaron look at this. It's not playing. But it's just a video of kids working in different places around the classroom. They can spread out, they can put everything on the floor, which is, it makes it so mobile. Last time I was working with Yearbook, we had kids who were working on projects in the front lobby. They were working they can take it out to the soccer field. They can work just about anywhere with their iPad because you don't have all of that stuff flying everywhere like you normally would. Editing. And then, of course, they build the sources. Now, this is where I pull out my iPhone because there's a new app that I discovered called Reference Me. And it's pretty cool. Does anyone have a book with them? With a barcode? All right. Yeah. So I pull up my,
You want a book a kid would read, or you want?
no, that one's perfect. So Reference Me is an app. I can actually make different folders. This is a senior project. So let's say I'm writing a senior project about Shakespeare. Perfect, simply Shakespeare. We just finished Hamlet. I had the tab. So I add my reference. I hold the barcode right over it. Boom. It takes a picture, and I have it now in there as a bibliography entry. Isn't that cool?
Is it,
You didn't have to,
That's a free app.
you have to go to the front page.
No, I don't have to do that.
was it formatted to the,
It's not formatted, I could not find it as an iPad app.
One of our computer teachers for our school said that iPads will still open the app, it's just smaller. It's just formatted small, but
Yeah.
it'll still work.
Yeah, because if you go to your app store and your purchase list, you can still kind of use it.
Yes.
I mean, would it like put it in APA or?
No, you still have to do that.
Oh,
But it gives you all the information. Yeah, you still have to do the work, which is good. That's a good thing. You know, we don't want it to be completely,
well,
the kids should have to do something.
yeah, but I'm doing mine right now, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, it is. And I find that EasyBib and some of the other bibliography makers don't always put it in the correct format when it's transferred into the paper. And if your students are anything like mine, not the ones here, of course, they print and turn it in. They don't take the time to look over everything and make sure it's correct.
Really, it seems like when it's time to print something, there's this big printage outage in the city.
I call it a printing panic day.
There's no printers available, they're all down.
Wait, what do we call those? The technology fairies. I always tell them the technology fairies will bite if you wait until the last minute. Now, we talked about printing. Our students do not print from their iPads yet. I'm hoping that in the future, we will be able to print from our iPads through our laptop. I don't think I want our students to print from their iPads because, as you probably know, students tend to print a lot of unnecessary things. So my big challenge right now is how to get the senior papers. Pull up your final paper, please. How to get the senior papers in total digital form for the final paper. I have my students in all my other classes. I teach research and writing to 10th graders, teach an English 3 honors class, and then 8 and 12. Those 4 classes all upload everything to my Edmodo account. But I can see their name. With the senior paper, I assign numbers. Bree is number 5 to all of the students, so that when the papers go out to the staff, they don't lose the paper they're scoring. And that gives the students that extra level of unbiased scoring. I also, if you see, now Bree is, you put Bradley paper. Did you make Bradley paper?
Yeah.
I also told one of my AP kids, they're funny. They're funny, they're funny. I told them they could put someone else's name in mine. But most of the kids just put senior project, and then instead of AP, we just put English 4. Again, that levels the playing field, so whoever is reading the paper doesn't know if that student is standard, honors, or AP. My challenge is, how do I get them uploaded to an electronic database that our teachers can use without giving away who the student is? So that's my next big project. To figure this.
Upload from pages to like your Edmodo account.
Yes.
Okay.
So then
Are we doing it? Do you have something to
let me create something.
When the staff are grading the red English paper, are they looking at the rubric right there? Like, I feel like
They
I
have
look at a paper, I would write on it, or write on sticky
Well,
notes
and see, they
stick
can
it
do that
to-
if they can send it to their Goodreads.
So,
They can write on it.
Okay, yeah.
But that's, again, that's
If it was
my
sent to the good
next.
reader, they would know whose it is.
Exactly, that's my next
Okay.
challenge is how can I do this now? I'm going to show you something because you can edit it right on Edmodo. Let me show you, okay, load assignment, hang on. Bree's going to upload, don't just upload your senior paper. Hang on, just give me a second. And I'll show you how we edit. It's today, the 16th. Assignment.
Ninon Dropbox might work for something like that, because I know with the textbook when we were finishing up, we had all final PDFs. And you can't work simultaneously, but if you had teachers knowing like certain hours they would be working, or you would rotate the days that you would do the person. And so that's what we do, because
I can set up a shared folder.
yeah, and so like all of our PDFs would be in there, and then I knew that my job was to check these 3 first, and then
How
I'd
do
wait
you
for.
edit though in Dropbox?
Well, I'd open it, I would take it into, open it in Adobe, and then when I say saved it, it automatically saved it back to that Dropbox
Okay.
folder when I saved
Could
it.
we do it in Google Docs as well?
You could do it in Google Docs.
Without, let's see, then.
But not PDFs.
Yeah, that is from the student's email.
Right, so that's what I was saying, like, once they send it to your Edmodo, you could put it into Dropbox in a shared folder with the staff.
Well, they send all their papers to me anyhow, and I archive them. I've got papers archived all the way back from 1998. It's amazing how many of my college students go, can you send me my senior paper? So I did.
What do
And
they need it for?
they're freshmen.
Reduce, reuse, recycle.
The only class I had a problem with is last year's class. It just was very interesting. It was. But they uploaded their papers also to their senior English teachers' Turnitin account. And once it's on Turnitin, they can't use it again. They will get caught, they will get accused of plagiarizing their own paper. So that was, we don't use Turnitin anymore. All right, so is there?
Yeah,
All right.
Plagiarize your own paper.
What?
I didn't know you could plagiarize your own.
I didn't either, but apparently when you use Turnitin, and I told them, I said, I had a Hemingway paper I wrote in high school that I recycled 3 different times in college, different iterations of the same ideas. I said, but make it different, make it new.
Well, you're new.
Right, there's no,
It's
you're
totally
looking
different.
at it from a different perspective. But because it's on Turnitin, it's going to show up as plagiarized, and that instructor isn't going to be happy about that.
I had my paper show as plagiarized because I was using the terms specific to that field, and they happened to be in other people's papers, and they said my paper was 76% plagiarized. I was like, I just used the terms for psychology, and it showed up all my citations as plagiarism.
You're gonna have to make up your own psychology terms.
Pretty much, but everywhere that I did an in-text citation, it highlighted that.
You don't use Turnitin because of that reason, or what are you stopping?
The cost, we didn't need it when it came time to use Edmodo, which is free. And the only people who were using it were the English department. So it really wasn't cost effective for us. We bought the site license for the whole school. It's not letting me go to my. Yeah, and so it really wasn't user-friendly. It wasn't worth the money because we can use Edmodo, and I can actually score on Edmodo easier than I can score badges. On Turnitin. I thought that the Turnitin editing tools were not very friendly. In addition to the fact we cannot use the iPad. Turnitin has an iPad app, and they let us try it for free the last few months, but we discovered you can't use it like they say you can. So we were not happy with that. This is not.
We were fighting for like 8 years to get it finally convinced.
Mm-hmm.
You just got it like last week, now you're getting it.
You might love it. And I liked it for, the problem with, I thought, the problem with and it's not called plagiarism, it's called a similarity.
They don't use that word.
It gave me things that weren't really plagiarism. So I didn't think, like I say, only the English department was using it, and so we just didn't think it was cost
Where was
effective.
the process from, you kiss it at mode and then you was turn it?
I mean, I'm showing you that right now, except that I'm having trouble getting to my
Turn it with
bottom.
the apps that they sent to there.
And then I can edit it completely and grade it right on there. And Bree has sent me her senior paper, but it's not allowing me to get down far enough here. Hang on. Mr. Manley, you're just in time. I can't get to this Edmodo page with my PowerPoint up. And I want to show you that because it's so easy to do. It says it's here, Bree.
Could you hit all submissions with that show?
Pardon me? I tried that. There it is. Maybe it might work. There we go. Okay, she uploads it as a PDF file. See how quick her upload was. And then I have all of these wonderful tools that I can use. I can type right on, and I can show you the test that she took earlier this year. I scored it completely on it because I was actually out of town. I was in Virginia the last day of first quarter, and my AP class took their Middle Ages test on their iPad, uploaded it, and I scored it. They were in Raleigh, I was in Virginia. Because I knew that was the only way that I was going to be able to upload it, right? So I can write directly on here. I can say, good thesis. I can go through and strike things out that I don't think, like I would tell her to strike that. And it's not going to let me do that. Of course not. Maybe we'll do this. Was told, you know how I feel about was. There you go. And you can strike. I can draw, so if I don't like the way something is written, I can draw all of these things and then write next to it. And you can edit right on there. Then you go back to the progress and you just type in your score. And once you enter a score, it enters it, like if it's 45 out of 100, it enters that fraction, 100 for every student, so you don't have to re-enter that. Does that make sense? This, to me, is the most user-friendly platform I have seen. And that I have used. It's much more user-friendly than Trinity. Trinity gives you a list of editing tools, but you have to use them. This I can make up my own. Or a list of editing comments.
With that, can you send the papers back to her?
I don't have to. She can just look at it. Once
Okay,
once I edit it, all she has to do is open her account and it's right there with all those comments. She just clicks that on that PDF link and opens it and she can see my comments. So one of the first things that I do, for example, my 10th graders uploaded their second drafts of their research paper Friday. I'll look at those tomorrow. The first thing I'll do on Monday is have them open that paper and then copy down the comments into their pages so that they know what to do for their final. Where are we here? Let me go back to. They're ready to upload all of their papers. They use Edmeta. This is where we save their model documents as well. I have a lot of documents that I've collected over the years and collaborated with other teachers from the beginning of the research process, building these sets of questions, building a thesis, to how to build an outline, writing an introduction, conclusion, the whole research process. We used to actually put it into a book. We had that book copied, bound, and we gave to every senior. What do you suppose happened by mid-September? They were gone. So now everything goes into the senior project in Modo file. And I use some of the same documents for the 10th graders. Building an essential question is pretty standard. Outline format is pretty standard. So we just open those. Thank you. And like the senior project startup information. Click on that. This is a checklist. Here, step-by-step approach. This I give to parents so they can see what to expect at what part of the year. It's got some good links to other sites on what analysis looks like, and everything is right there for them. Anytime they need to go back and check a due date, it's right there. I would love to say every one of those seniors does that. But what does this do? They're normal children. Normal children. Senior project then, everything that I've just told you applies to everything we've done. In May, the children present to the staff, and they usually have 3 or 4 adults in every room. There's usually 2 staff members and then 2 or 3 members of the general community. I have so many volunteers, I almost have too many people who want to judge. I don't turn anyone down. The only people who are not allowed to judge are parents of seniors. And so they come in, I tell the kids it's like a job interview, and they do their presentation. They use any one of the 3 different types of PowerPoint presentations. They can use Keynote, they can use Prezi. I tend to discourage the use of Prezi. I don't know if you all are familiar with it, but for me, it's a little too busy. And if I want to be paid, if I want the kids' products to be paid attention to, I think all the fading in, I think it's a lot of bells and whistles. A lot of people love Prezi. That's fantastic. I have so many of my materials in PowerPoint and Keynote, I see no reason to recreate the wheel. But Prezi is good, and some of the kids really do a good job of it. that we are moving to digital options this year. Looking at Weebly, looking at Simple. I've tried Simple. Another teacher and I, Allison Edwards, if you've been to any of her sessions with the building with subtext, have both tried to use Simple, which is a web building tool for the iPad. We have both abandoned it twice. So that is the one thing we do not yet have is a great web building tool for the iPad. Weebly you can use on a laptop and then upload it to an iPad, and I do want everything to go to digital so that when they walk in the room, they are not carrying a folder that looks like this with all of their documents. Their documents will have been scanned, they will have been uploaded, they have videos, they have pictures of their senior project, and it's ready to go. It's in the planning stages. Google Drive, I think Allison's in the Google Drive workshop right now, so we can kind of collaborate on that. It's an optional course. Useful tools, I've created a document for you that just has basically an overview, a review of what we've just talked about, some of the different things our students use. There we go. Got my email on it if you have any questions. The different useful apps and what they do. Now, what I do is I learned this years and years ago when I went to a web design class. If you create things in table, it doesn't move around. You know how you create a really neat document, and then you upload it and show it, and then everything is all over the place? Tables allows you to keep it right where you put it. So I created things in tables and then take the good lines off, and nobody knows the difference. So everything is to be cited. Instagram, of course, where we find keywords, credible sites, Flipboard, TED Talks. If you're not using TED Talks, there are some fantastic TED Talks that relate directly to my student projects. I generally send them links over the weekend to things that are useful. I found a really good tweet, was it in a tweet?
Yeah, it was a
Utopia for Bree's project and sent it to her. And then we learned how to cite social media, which is a whole new form of citation. And then I put that document into the senior project folder so all the seniors could use that. Probably 5 years ago I would have said, no, you cannot use blogs or tweets. But now there's so much available that is scholarly that I've pretty much opened the door for them. Google Scholar, the student that I had in here yesterday, David was in here, used Google Scholar almost exclusively for his research. And his is on extracurricular activities and how it connects kids to the schools and increases test scores and lowers dropout rates. So he used almost exclusively Google Scholar to find his information. We discourage just a straight Google search only because it's so broad, so vast. This year we went to a new database. We went to JSTOR and got rid of EBSCOhost. I prefer EBSCOhost. I think it offers more grade level articles and grade level options for our students. JSTOR is fabulous, don't get me wrong, but I think some of the things are too scholarly. They're very difficult for my students to understand. Both of them, you have to have a site license. Both of them do provide a citation format. EBSCOhost citation format is better than JSTOR. JSTOR gives you the information, but you still have to figure out how to put it in. Whereas EBSCOhost, you just click on it and it says, oh, this is how you do it in MLA, this is how you do it in APA.
How much is the site license?
I don't know. Do you?
If you're with a public school, you have access to EBSCO, but I don't know about the private schools.
We're not a private school. We're a public charter, but we're not part of a school system or our own LEA.
Does your public library system?
Yes, that was my next thing.
Yeah,
It has a
because we have
library
Jester.
card, it's free.
Yeah, because we have Jester and,
Yeah.
that's our public libraries.
Yeah.
And CY that'll give you access to it.
And NCY's out, and we do have access to YSL. And I was very excited when we found out that I could still get to EBSCOhost using YSL.
And EBSCO can count as a print resource because all it is
Everything is
scanned copies.
So when we require 3 different mediums, that print is included in that because if it was originally put in as a print, then that counts as a print source. But I use the public library card and let the kids log on with my account if they don't have a public. So many kids nowadays don't have public library cards.
Right.
And so I just let them log on with my account and we can get to anything we need. Reference me, I showed you scanning barcodes. Obviously, your Edmodo for storing things. Purdue Owl Pages, this is the old icon, which is on iOS 6. And Evernote, I think there's an Evernote workshop next. If you haven't been to one of those, Mr. Hall, I would strongly suggest you do that. A lot of, do you use Evernote, Monica? See, David uses only Evernote. He uses Pages a little bit more.
Yeah, you can do more.
Yeah. How many of you are familiar with Evernote? And it's, again, it's a really good way to organize your things into folders and create documents. Our administration completely uses Evernote to send us things. Prezi, of course, Keynote, both of which are purchased apps. My lesson planning from this morning. And my learning curve with this. You know, I think it's interesting because if you look at the research, it shows you that teachers who began teaching in the mid-70s are less likely to utilize technology. Perhaps it's because of the environment in which I teach, or it could also be the influence from my own children, my own sons. My eldest son is a complete Apple aficionado. Anything Apple makes, he buys the newest version. He's got the gold iPhone. And so he has helped me a lot move into that. You know, we talk about digital natives versus digital immigrants. And so I have immigrated almost completely into that digital platform. I'm still learning. I've moved to iPad with Project Gutenberg. Have downloaded everything that my student, one of my classes just finished reading how to fin. We went right to Project Gutenberg to find it. Did have a little problem. The one downside of Project Gutenberg is you can't always filter what the kids download to their books. We had some pretty interesting things they were downloading a couple of years ago. Were you involved in that?
No. I remember trying to figure out how to
Stop it. Yeah, stop it. But it's free once a book is in the public domain. Some things are not yet in the public domain. Some of the bigger pieces of literature that we teach, Mockingbird, Catcher in the Rye, are not yet in the public domain, and I don't know if they ever will be. The publishers are holding back on that. I began working with many other apps. Spent a lot of good weekends. If you were in Mr. Mahaley's presentation during the keynote yesterday, he talked about someone criticizing the Apple, the iPad, because it was only an end user thing. It wasn't a creating tool. And initially when it came out, apps were hard to find. And so when he gave me my iPad, he says, now spend the weekend looking at education-related apps. So it didn't take but an hour. Now, it would be a full-time job to do that because there are so many. A lot of what I found was junk and I've gotten rid of it. But you know, at first, it's like a kid in a candy store. It was so much fun. And he gave us each gift cards, you know, Apple gift cards, so we could download some of the more expensive ones. In terms of where we're going with this, obviously looking at uploading digital portfolios and figuring out how to grade those papers anonymously online would be our next big step in the research and writing process. Up to this point, every single thing can be done from beginning to end using just the iPad. And we do use the one-on-one initiative.
I teach 6th grade. Do you have suggestions of ways to use the iPad to kind of pre-screen sources? My students, this is their first year doing research. I can't teach them every part. You can't teach them every part of it. And I don't think I can get them to the point where they're proficient at distinguishing between credible, reliable sources and not so credible, reliable.
There are some good handouts that we use for our 10th graders on credible sources, and there's actually a chart you can build with distinction. NC State has a good good document, as well as their writing lab on credible versus not so credible sources. I think with younger kids, the problem is understanding the research language. So I think EBSCO hosts, if you go to the Student Resource Center, has one that's geared for younger kids. And so that would be a good place for you to
See,
start.
I can start with 5th graders, and all I teach them about is what is a good source and what's not. And I think one of the biggest things I tell you is that we just don't allow Google search. It's too much.
It's too much. And I show them, I'll take a topic and Google search it, and they'll get 7 million hits. And then I'll go to EBSCO host and search it, and they'll have 200, which is much more manageable.
And for the younger kids, they just don't, and they get distracted easily, and it's too much if you use the way.
But I would definitely use a database, and I would strongly suggest the EBSCO host the Student Resource Center, because it's geared to younger grades. And there's one called Kids Search on there, I believe.
And then did you see KidRex, which is like Google powered KidRex, it's Kid Search.
It's
that
like
reads
RIC or
out
RIS.
like a password. It's actually a kid draws, like it looks like a kid. but
Which
it's
might be
like
too
a-
young for your sixth graders, so there's something.
Not-
That's why I think
not
EBSCO
yours.
host is probably your best bet. JSTOR is not going to be useful for you, I'll tell you that right now.
My sixth graders read on average at about a fourth grade
Right.
level, so lower reading level, but not
Right.
kiddish looking.
That's what I mean, there's a lot of kid-looking graphics. that are
The stuff that I searched looked normal, but the
Yeah.
Google page itself, because it was powered by Google, it's the same color scheme, but it had like a crayon looking T-Rex on it.
Yeah, the gentleman that was in here yesterday he teaches eighth grade, and he does the National Social Studies Day,
National
National
History
History Day project, and he wants my research documents for that, and he's going to modify them. I taught, before I came to high school in '97, I taught 13 years in middle school. So I actually taught a research project for my health and PE classes, because I'm dual certified in English and health and PE, and I taught it to middle school kids. And so I don't have those materials digitally, but it's easy, it's fairly simple to modify. But in terms of the credible, I think go to a good database is your best.
And it's not, not worrying about teaching the fine mechanics of that.
With
just
the analyzing,
learning.
yeah, because some of the stuff is so difficult for them to read, I don't know that that would be very productive for them, or productive use of their time. I think maybe giving them, and this is something that I'm sure you all do with web searches, you give them a list of links from which they can choose.
On my
Yeah.
site.
Yeah.
You will
Use one of
use these
these,
four
yeah.
things.
Because you're only going to probably require them to use 2 or 3 sources, is my guess. So you could certainly give them 10 really good sources.
We still have a library.
Books.
And so I say, like, one source has to be like a book that you hold in your hand.
Yeah, I did that with my 10th graders. They were required to use a textual source, something that they could physically touch. But it was a book, a magazine, a DVD, something that they could physically touch and put into their research.
See,
My kids don't believe that I didn't do computer research and like,
Well, my kids
they're
are
like,
really
what's
good at it.
Arabic? What's the,
Yeah.
they-
They're pretty excited though about the going to a library. When they finally do make it to a library, like the one in Cameron Village, they're so excited. They think it's so cool. And I think the seniors will tell you that a lot of their best research comes from books and from documents that have been stored for a length of time. Do you want to talk a little bit about yours?
Like
Since
my
it's completely electronic.
Yeah, like, for me, I basically, I was doing self-publishing and now it's kind of expanding. And a lot of it, I use like that PDF, which is like this whole text section. And then at one point, I even went to the library and I got this whole book on like step-by-step how to self-publish. I used a lot of those resources. I mean, they're great if they're more geared for your topic. So they're very good.
And her product building book
Yeah.
using everything that she's learned. Any other questions?
So do you limit the amount of web sources they can use on their senior research paper?
The amount?
Yeah, like a 2-to-1 textbook versus.
No, they have to use a minimum of 7 sources from 3 different mediums.
Okay.
And one of those mediums has to be a face-to-face interview with their mentor. Our seniors we support them. I'm the senior project coordinator, so I work with them one-on-one. They also are all assigned a faculty advisor, and then they all have to find a mentor from outside of our school community. Because one of the things we want to see our seniors do is kind of move out and move away from people that they've known over and over again. I think Bree's mentor is an author who self-published using electronic media. So, and I think, did I suggest him?
Yeah, Mr.
Is it
Gilman.
him? Yeah, Mr. Gilman. And then her faculty advisor is Mr. Mahaley, I think, because he does a lot of the publishing himself. So it's usually the faculty picks the kids, and we pick them based on, I always tell my students, most grown-ups know a little bit about a lot of stuff. We've had, multiple experiences in life and different jobs, and so we have a lot of outside interest. So we pick our students for faculty advisees based on not only our interests, but perhaps our interest in their topic. And then kind of guide them through that. Most of the students, and David was talking about this a little bit yesterday, have most of the teachers have worked with the senior project enough, but they know what the expectations are, and they know where the students should be at what time. You know,
So it becomes a matter of helping them develop and the topic more than arguing, right?
well, a little bit of both. One of the things we did this year is I asked the staff to email their advisees in advance of their scheduled meeting. Because if we leave it to the seniors, yes, we want them to be self-directed learners, but if we leave it to the seniors to set up a meeting, they won't. And so by doing the first 2 meetings where we say, okay, you're coming to me during Flex on Thursday, bring this, and this, it made a huge difference. Last year at this time, I probably had 15 or 20 seniors who still were unsure of how to build their paper. This year, I only have 3 who haven't turned in their final paper. 2 of those are medical issues. It's huge.
Okay, I just looked at your website, your school website, and you require public speaking and this research.
Public speaking and research running, they go back to back. So the kids that I have right now will flip into public speaking next semester.
And then, is the senior project a separate class or through your English?
It's through our English, our senior English class.
Okay, so what kind of schedule, I mean, is there enough periods, I guess, for the kids to take everything they need to take, or, I mean, what's your schedule, is it like a block schedule?
We have a modified block. We have a modified block. 3 days a week, we have 7 periods. 8 if you, there's an optional period called 0 period, and they can take that if they want. Wednesday and Thursday, we go on a modified block. So I see my 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th periods on Wednesday, and then Thursday, 5th, 6th, and 7th. Then we have a long block in Thursday after lunch called Flex, where we have 2 back-to-back help sessions for our students. This year, we took the senior project, and instead of just having due dates and maybe touching bases with the students through our English 4 classes, we dedicated 2 full weeks out of our curriculum to build a paper. Do you think that was helpful?
Very helpful.
Because then we were hands-on, the 2 English teachers, myself and Ms. Griffith, were hands-on in the classroom. Now, when I taught the senior project at another school, we did pretty much the same thing. We took 2 full weeks to at least build the first 2 drafts, and then they had 2 weeks to edit those and revise them into the final paper, above and beyond the English classroom. Our next big thing that we will be doing is the abstract. We'll do that in January when they come back. That'll take 1 class period for them to do that. It is separate, it's a separate entity, but it's required of all of our students. And our kids will tell you when they go to college, it's been an interesting thing to see. Bruce's brother did it 3 years ago? Was it junior year?
Yeah, 3 years ago.
And very often, our students will end up teaching students from other schools how to build source lists, how to edit. We had one young man who was in East Carolina, his freshman English teacher. It was the year that MLA changed, and he was at East Carolina, and his freshman English teacher was putting up an example of MLA. And Christian goes, "That's not right." He goes, "Yes, it is." He goes, "No, it's not." And he pulled up the website and showed him. He goes, "Okay, you're just dismissed for 2 weeks." Because the first 2 weeks of the freshman English at East Carolina was how to do MLA. Our kids have been doing it since 8th grade. We had a young man at NC State who was editing another student's paper, and he looked at him and he stopped and said, "How did you get into this school?" Because the writing and research process is so much of our focus. So we really feel like it prepares them for that next step. We want to send them out of FA with all the tools they need, without taking away from their regular curriculum. How many AP classes have you taken?
This year, 2.
Most of our students generally take 2 to 3 AP courses a year.
Yeah, and that's, that at my school is, I think they take too many AP classes. They take 4. Just 4.
I think it depends on the student, whatever they have.
Yeah,
My
but
son
like
took
it's choir
4.
and
Yeah.
have you ever seen the TV show Glee?
Oh, yeah.
That's our school's a model of that. So in fact, you walk in the halls, it's our halls.
Cool.
So it's.
Is it like the School of the Arts?
Oh, not at all.
It's just
But it's just close, we need in California, so we're not breaking some studios, so that's, they can come off. But the choir was just set, except there's 120 kids. Right?
Yeah.
It's a national program, so the choir's a big thing.
Right.
No, we're not.
It's kind of neat. Now, we have a great arts program at our school. Our arts kids go everywhere as well. So our kids are very busy. I will tell you that. Kids are very busy. And I know they sometimes feel overwhelmed. And there's a lot of, the senior project. And I always remind them no one has ever died of the senior project. We get you through it. No one's ever not graduated because of the senior project. Because even if you fail a part of it, we work with you until you pass it. So it's a hands-on. Anything else? You ready to go see the student showcase?
I have a question for you,
Yes.
but I think it's very me specific.
That's okay.
It has to
Maybe
do with
you never know.
Shakespeare. I found something that I thought was on the Folger site. These people, if you, I'm sure you already know about them.
I use
Okay,
the
great.
Folger site, yeah.
So, this is not Folger book.
No, that's not the Folger.
The Folger book is in the other back.
Yeah.
And I thought I found like acting lessons on there, like literally like when you're expressing love in Shakespeare, you put your hand on your heart.
Soliloquies.
And I cannot, like I did with Markham and, you know, where I was.
I don't.
Just
Just Google acting in Shakespeare.
And it's too much. It's like, I can't.
Acting, Shakespeare, body language.
They
body
were
movements.
literally
Just contact.
1 minute. They were perfect for like the
Was it,
attention span of the kids that I deal with. And it was like 4 tips. Like, if you're showing mirth, you hold your belly. It was just had like,
sounds like something one of our English teachers was on the other day. He was just talking about reading Shakespeare. And the woman was emoting every single word. It was almost too much. It was
Right.
too distracting.
this was like
I don't know the answer to
the
that.
back bullet of, you know, and things that I don't know what a good movie looks like. I know I
Right.
can see that, but I never needed to articulate it to students that
Right.
this is how you sound.
That's where you might invite the drama teacher.
Professing when we don't have. I am her, but I really like drama. It is. We do a lot of drama and language arts anyway. But
My AP students had a soliloquy since the beginning of second quarter to memorize, and they are presenting them on Wednesday. What's yours?
Mine's in Midsummer Night's Dream.
do you want to do it right
Oh,
now?
I couldn't do it right now.